What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Bladen Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time in Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. We have a great episode planned for you all today. We're going to talk about some more draft prospects, really hit on the corners this episode, and then we have a few NBA topics lined up from James Harden to maybe some MVP talk. Should be a great episode, but before we get into all of that, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing today?
I'm wonderful. I'm just in a good mood today.
Love to hear it.
For no particular reason. Yeah, I'm excited to record.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling okay, about average. Nothing major is happening to me. I'm working on...
I'm also in a fantastic mood. So
excellent. Just three average guys, you know?
Just having a good day.
Three guys having a good day.
Three guys vibe. I woke up an hour ago.
Fair. It hasn't had much opportunity for anything to go wrong. It would be bad to hear if you woke up an hour ago and already things were bad for you.
Worst day ever. No, but as always, just a reminder for everyone to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, it's no one's birthday. Not really any holidays going on. But the NFL Combine's coming around, so that's kind of like a holiday. And yeah, we would really appreciate it if you guys would subscribe to the YouTube channel. Keep helping grow this podcast on one of our favorite platforms. I say we just hop right in. We're talking about cornerbacks today. And Matt, I know you're a big Sauce Gardner fan, but you know, a lot of people don't.
I am a big Sauce Gardner fan. And there are a lot of people who
don't have him as corner one.
Some are saying that he's cornerback.
Would you like to pitch your case for him to be corner one?
He's really good, and very few players go and get catches against him. And I don't see why he wouldn't be corner one. But more seriously, he's such a ridiculous player. I got to watch him play in person a lot, and the way that defenses avoid him is ridiculous. And I know it's AAC. It's not that highest level of competition, and there is some truth in that. Like, I'm not going to lie to you, but it never mattered. We played Notre Dame; they didn't want to throw to him. We played Alabama with Jamison Williams, and I know Jamison Williams got hurt, which really stinks. But when he was, they would not throw over there, and the one time they did, -2 yards.
No.
And the funny thing about it is, like, you got to realize that teams would not throw to Gardner, and their other option was the Thorpe Award winner. It's not like the other corner was a dud. The other corner is going to be a day 2 pick. He's going to get drafted as well. He's fantastic. I think I remember one play in the Notre Dame game that I have to go back and find. They throw up a pass on Gardner, and it looks like he doesn't know what he's doing, because he just moves into like the position he needs to be in so easily. It's like he didn't need to try to find the ball. So I'm really high on him. His makeup speed's ridiculously good. He's super quick. And he's 6'3". So I think there's a lot to like about him. I do understand it's a strong quarterback class, and Stingley's great and all, but give me Gardner.
Yeah, I mean, I like Gardner as well. I don't dislike him. Although I currently have him as cornerback 3, not cornerback 1. I do think that could be good though, because he's really good, and the thing he was asked to do the most in college is the most valuable cornerback skill. Like, it's not like someone like, I'll say Trent McDuffie for Washington is someone who did a lot of one thing in college, but it's not really the most valuable skill. It was like bailing at the line of scrimmage and dropping back into like a zone cover 3. So on a lot of reps, You're seeing like, and especially in Pac-12 when they run so many like fake read option offenses. Like, there are so many games where it's just like, McDuffie drops back into coverage, and you know they just hand it off, or there's a read option and he just bails. There's no like man on man. Like, Gardner is kind of the same thing, where he did a lot of like one thing, but it was like, instead of like it just being like, roll back in a zone and not cover anybody, it was like get in the face of the wide receiver, press him, man coverage. That's what he was asked to do. Like, over.
He did one thing, but it was the hardest thing to ask a corner to do on a consistent basis.
It's the thing you like to see the most. So like, being like one dimensional in his case is not like necessary. It's a good dimension. It's the most important dimension. It's like, it's like if a running back was one dimensional because he ran
just,
over somebody.
It's just the dimension we saw the most.
Yeah,
it's just like
that's
like he's probably capable of doing more.
He is, but I'm just saying like that we saw like. I'm just saying he's really good at the most important thing, which is like kind of why I like it.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy because slot corners, even a really good slot corner, does not get paid in the NFL for particularly that reason. I mean, you'll see a guy, and I know maybe this is the wrong way to judge a player, but you'll see a guy with a really good Pro Football Focus grade, and this is pretty frequently. I forget who I'm thinking of.
Bryce Callahan,
but they'll get like Callahan's a guy, but they'll all. Get paid next to nothing. I mean, we're talking like $5 million a year type deal, even if they're very, very strong in what they do, because it's just not that valuable outside stuff. I do agree with you, or I disagree with you on a few things about Gardner and the sort of video you made about. I don't think he's bad in run support. I agree his tackling form isn't great, but I always viewed Gardner as strong in run support. And Cincinnati outside had strong run support the whole year, I thought. And I think his frame is good. He's a little light, but the difference between a cornerback being a little light and in a good spot is 10 pounds.
Yes.
And he's 6'3" with incredibly long arms. Give me that all day. And you can develop him. I mean, he can put on weight. Hard to get taller.
Yes, that's true. I mean, he came into Cincinnati like what, 160, something ridiculous. He had that.
Oh yeah,
he had that Theo Ash.
They had
that Theo Ash NFL body type, where it's like 6'3", 160 or something. Which is
I was watching.
Yeah.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was watching the ECU game, and they had these side by side picture comparisons of them and how much weight him and Ritter had put on. So if he's put on weight in college, I know maybe it's a little bit harder in the pros once you sort of build out that frame a little bit more. But I don't see that as that scary. It's hard to imagine he just fails in the NFL because he can't put on weight, and that's his big problem. But the combine is humongous.
This is and the agility drills. That is, I think, the thing where I'm like, okay, he is 6'3". The other guy that I compare him to a little bit is Kaiir Elam out of Florida. Both of them are like 6'2", 6'3" type of cornerbacks. One plays very upright and very high, and one really, really does a nice job playing very like low and with really like good like bend and technique. And it like in every position in football, like you want to play low, like low man win. It's true. Like you want to be coiled up. You want to be like.
That is the one thing that like every football fan should know. If you don't know low man wins.
It's like, not so important for corner as it is for like defensive linemen because you really want to get under someone's pad. But like an explosive position is, not standing straight up. Like you think of like a tiger or like a wild animal when they're about to pounce. They're not like relaxed. They get like real low. Like you just always want to be low. You always want to be low. And Gardner like is a tall dude and he plays like kind of like almost standing straight up. And I think that's kind of like a little bit of a technical flaw. And sometimes when he would have to like flip his hips and like really explode out of that stance, he wouldn't do it maybe as fluidly as like two other tall cornerbacks, Kaiir Elam and Stingley, really are that tall and also do a really nice job staying low. Whereas Gardner, didn't have to as much. So like that's really like those like technique things I think are just a little bit like the fluidity.
I also
which is why. But if he goes and he has a great like agility drills at the combine, then it's like okay, well then I don't know what like.
I also think like with Gardner as opposed to like Elam, Gardner wins I think more at the line of scrimmage. I think Gardner is more likely to win at the line of scrimmage. Like. I mentioned before, like Elam has a play against Jameson Williams where he loses at the line of scrimmage and then recovers anyway. And like, first of all, most people are not recovering against Jameson Williams because of how fast he is. But like Elam has like the quickness of his hips, and maybe Gardner doesn't have that, but he wins so often at the line of scrimmage. He's so disciplined with his hands and his eyes that a lot of times he just doesn't need to get back. He's already in position.
Yeah. I just love how aggressive Gardner is at the line of scrimmage. I love cornerback should be aggressive. I think it's the right way to play the position.
Cornerback should be insane.
This is why you got to check the Instagram for the vibe checks. This is why I was talking with with a Twitter user Big Time Throws on my consultant for prospect vibe checks and seeing if they clear it. Sauce Gardner has 2 pictures on his Instagram. They're both fit pics with the same caption. He's by himself, and he's just 2 fit pics with the same caption that's like really cryptic. It's like, that's what I want from a cornerback. I don't want you with your family. I don't want any cute pictures of you at a lake with your family. No, I want exclusively pictures by yourself, with the most cryptic caption possible. I want you to be cryptic. Same thing with wide receivers. All the best wide receivers post insane messages to their Twitter all the time, like cryptic. If you're not posting cryptic messages, you're off my board as a wide receiver or DB.
If you don't have a God complex as a wide receiver or DB, you're undraftable.
You're undraftable.
You have you've got the mentality of a wide receiver 1. Absolutely.
You need a God complex to be a wide receiver. Gardner, his Twitter bio says empath. I don't want it. Like, that's a point against him. I don't want any empath corners. I don't want someone who. Someone who feels.
I think does his bio actually say empath?
Yes, his bio actually says empath.
This is showing that he has that on-off switch that's so rare in players, where he's able to go out and be aggressive and attack at the line of scrimmage, but then he's also a sweetheart.
I don't want any sweetheart corners. So undraftable, I'm afraid.
Yeah, my corner should not be a good teammate. He should be at all.
Yes,
no other prospect.
I want Richard Sherman. I want Richard Sherman, where he's just like the worst.
I do. Yes. No. I want an insane person at cornerback. I want the most cryptic messages possible. That's what they should be posting on social media. Anyway, that's Gardner. One other thing about Gardner is his run support. He's not like lazy at it. Like he really does try. He just tends to miss tackles and not.
Look, man. That's maybe there's some truth in that take, but that one Jamison Williams tackle will forever not allow that narrative to breathe.
But yeah, that's the only really good tackle I saw from him. But yeah, it happened. So I mean, clearly, and that I wonder what kind of he'd be really good in a Seahawks type of role, like the Seahawks.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
The Seahawks started it like Richard Sherman, like what the Seahawks did when they were the Legion of Boom. Yeah. One high safety, that was Earl Thomas. One safety in the box, that was Cam Chancellor. And then really physical, aggressive cornerbacks that were big and long and maybe committed too many fouls, but they would just lock you up. And you could play cover 1 with all these great secondary. It was Brandon Browner and Richard Sherman. And that is the type of cornerback that the Seattle Seahawks Legion of Boom was. And that is Sauce Gardner, right? That long corner, lots of press coverage, very physical. So I think if Dallas wants a corner and he happens to be, I mean, they're drafting pretty late, so I don't think so. I know that Wink Martindale and the Giants, again, is someone who runs a lot of man, or at least he did on the Ravens, with all the blitzes he dials up. So if you want man behind that, go get Gardner. The Ravens, go get Gardner if you're going to play a lot of man coverage.
That's the team that I want him to go to. I want him to go to the Ravens.
I mocked him to Baltimore.
That's what I would like to see.
Baltimore's a perfect fit.
Yeah, if you're going to be a team that plays a lot of cover 2 and he's just going to be shallow zone and he's got to come up and make plays in the flat consistently, and you're going to play him take away, carry, reroute a guy and then just stay in that flat defender type of role. I don't think he'll be quite as appealing to some teams, because that's asking him to come up and make a lot of tackles, and I just don't think that's what he's great at. So any team that wants to run that one high, single high Legion of Boom type of defense should probably be really interested in Gardner. And if
so you're talking yourself into him.
I do.
Right now,
I do like him. I think that him and Elam and Stingley are do a really good job at being big and being good at coverage. And then there's McDuffie. If you want someone who is in that cover 2, if you're going to run someone who's going to come up and make a tackle, draft one of the Washington cornerbacks. And if we're going to talk about the combine, they're 2 guys who are going to really rocket up draft boards to come the combine, because McDuffie and Kyler Gordon have 42-inch verticals. that's another conversation I was having it on Twitter was someone telling me about how athletic. I mean, they look athletic on film, and then you look at like their Washington pro days, and they're like jumping like 42 inches, and they're going to run like a 4.4 and crush all the agility drills. So like those two are definitely people to watch as the combine comes up. Those Washington cornerbacks, because both of them are going to destroy the combine. They're going to absolutely light it on fire and come back with really high grades. So McDuffie and Kyler Gordon, as far as the combine goes.
I do like McDuffie a lot. McDuffie's a guy, I think, he's 5'11"?
Yeah.
5'10"? I don't know.
Yeah, he's like 5'11".
He does not look like it on tape. When I first started watching Jahan Dotson, I was like, what is this guy, like 6'3"? And then I was like, oh, he's 5'10", 5'11". And that was the exact same like thought I had with Trent McDuffie. I was like, oh, what is this guy, like 6'3"? Looks like it. And then it's just like the way he plays. It's like you're playing bigger than your size. It's the same thing like watching Jamar Chase a lot of times. It's like, there's no way that guy's 6'1".
Yeah. McDuffie gets a lot of Jair Alexander comps, which I can see a little bit because he plays that fluidly and he plays with that kind of intensity. Like Jair is a great tackler. Jair Alexander, there's a play against the Vikings that he made, I think his rookie year, that is probably one of the best cornerback plays I've seen, where he blew up a screen and then like the wide receiver still caught it, but like the blocker was totally gone because Jair ran into him so hard. And then Jair like literally, then Diggs ran all the way across the formation, and Jair like tracked him down behind the line of scrimmage the whole time. So that's the kind of player that I think like McDuffie can be. Again, like I said, Washington runs a lot of like zone and not a whole lot of man. And he has to bail like immediately all the time to like play deep cover 3 or whatever he was doing. So it was kind of a boring watch. And it's like, I don't know if I trust him to be as like good in man as Jair is, because that's really rare. And Jair is like one of the 2 best cornerbacks in football. But like if you,
I mean, most corner tape might be the most boring tape to watch.
In my opinion, it is. Like it's fun if they play man all the time.
Because most of the time, nothing happens.
If it's in a zone coverage team, it can be really brutal. Like Gardner, I thought was fine to watch because he was playing man so much, and like Roger McCreary was a cornerback that I watched that played.
I really
like Roger McCreary as well. I like Roger McCreary as well, and he played a lot of man. It's a ridiculous cornerback class, you guys.
I mean, it's insane.
There could be like 7 that go in the first round. It's really that good.
Yeah.
And I haven't even watched all the first round like caliber corners. It's really, really ridiculous.
I was talking to a friend of mine last night that's a Titans fan, and he was like, who do you have the Titans drafting? And at first I was like telling him about how I had I can't remember the offensive lineman, but the more I thought about it, I was like, honestly, like you don't know if Caleb Farley's gonna come back and be healthy.
And we haven't talked about Booth. We haven't even talked about Booth.
We haven't talked about Booth
or Stingley.
Like, the Titans low key wouldn't be bad off taking a corner.
Oh, of course.
And there's so many of them. They probably get a pretty good player.
Taking advantage of a good cornerback class would not be a bad move.
Yeah, no,
not a bad idea.
I personally,
Andrew Booth, good at football.
Yes, he's someone I haven't watched as much as some of the other guys, but like obviously there's that play I retweeted where he's literally like floating in the air to make an interception.
Yeah, I saw that.
So it's like, how much more do you need to see? All right. Really,
that guy's good. If you're jumping that high, you're good.
Yeah, right.
It's like what is that? Like is that Trey Waynes that made a play like that?
I don't remember.
Who's the?
That sounds like something.
I think it was for the Panthers.
Oh, Dante. We're talking about Dante Jackson. Dante Jackson has some.
Jackson.
Yes, Dante Jackson also has some ridiculous jumps where he like floats a little bit and he's like ridiculous. Like the Panthers reposted one of my TikToks.
I remember that. It was cool.
Posted one of my TikToks on Dante Jackson, but Booth is someone I've got to watch. I was sick after watching McDuffie film. I can't lie. I'm like, I'm going to watch some tight ends instead. I can't watch so much zone coverage. But
I can't keep watching corner like this, man.
One more, I guess, when I was watching the tight ends, I'm telling you that that the Ohio State tight end is so the truth. He is so the truth. I don't really think the combine matters all that much to him because, like, for Jeremy Ruckert is who I'm talking about. I just want to say, I turned that on the tight ends and said, I'm going to be the number 1 Jeremy Ruckert fan. So that's I'm just going to say that.
I think it's a good take. I like Ohio State just does not use their tight ends, and they never have as long as I have been alive. But Ruckert can play.
He was the number 2. He was the number 2 tight end in his recruiting class. I went back and watched his high school highlights, and they are hilarious. They are absolutely hilarious. And you watch that, and it's like, okay, that's what an NFL star looks like in high school. That's just what they look like. And then he goes to Ohio State, and it's like, okay, like he's not getting used, but every time he does, like that's what an NFL, like really good NFL tight end looks like when they do throw to him. Like, so the whole time he's looked like a high level NFL tight end, whether that be in high school and then in college, but it doesn't look like he always has looked like an NFL tight end just because Ohio State doesn't use tight ends, but
they just do not use their tight ends. It's really,
I mean, I guess he went there because, you know, he's from Long Island and it's Ohio State. When they come calling, it's pretty tempting, but dude's legit. Very, very legit.
I
PFF doesn't like him.
Don't care. That's probably because
what do they know?
Pro football fraudulent.
Look,
I'm sorry.
No, I don't know why they wouldn't like him. I really don't. He whiffs on some blocks.
Well,
sometimes.
They have him at tight end 3. They have him at tight end 3, but like his grade's awful.
No,
I don't even know how that's possible because he does not drop passes. Like for a company that should be like, you know, not judged on volume, but like what they do with it. I truly do not understand that one because he caught basically every catchable pass, whether that be one-handed or
unless
below.
Let me see if like his because it might be like his run, because if he's not getting a lot of targets and he's mostly in like blocking and his blocking stuff doesn't like show up really well.
That's probably it. His receiving grade simply has to be high. I mean, his catching grade, he catches everything. But anyway, this is not the tight ends episode. I just wanted to say, I turned off corners to watch tight ends.
I can't find his receiving grade, but we'll assume it's high.
The one other thing I'll ask you guys about the cornerbacks is how worried about Derek Stingley's injury history.
Very. I'm quite worried.
Me too.
He's my CB1 in grade because like on the film he is ridiculous and perfect and one of the best players. He was one of the best players in the SEC as a true freshman, and that's like hard to do.
Like 40 years ago. This guy hasn't played a full season in forever.
Well, 2020 is Mickey Mouse in a lot of ways because how many games were there? Well, did he get hurt? I don't know.
4.
He had 4. So 2019, 986 snaps, number 1 graded corner. And then 2020, 429 snaps. Last year, 154.
Yeah. So I don't know. Over the course of all of his snaps that he has played, he has looked like probably the best corner. But yeah, I would definitely be worried about his foot. It's a corner with a foot injury. They have to use those a lot. I don't know. It's
yeah. I mean, and any foot injuries are the type of things that nags you forever. As someone who has broken their foot, I can tell you,
he's just like me.
I would be no good at cornerback anymore, so I wouldn't.
Someone who broke my foot.
True. Matt used to be lockdown.
I used to be locked down, and then I fractured my foot playing ultimate frisbee, and I was never the same. But that's what ended Greg Olson's career. That's what you're seeing, Zion Williamson deal with, and those are bigger guys too, which means there's more weight on the foot. And I'm not an injury expert, but consistent lower body injuries, bad. So I do think it is something to take into account. Although he's a great player when he's on the field.
It was a big reason why I was low on Caleb Farley last year. It just did not.
He had a back injury with me well. He had a back injury.
And the back injury was more significant to me. I'm like, that's going to be really tough to come back from. And even if he does, I would be really worried about rushing him back. You have no idea when he's going to play again. Stingley, it being a foot injury, it's going to nag, but it's not nearly as bad as a back injury. But it was, as a corner, I need you to be healthy. I desperately, especially if you're planning on if I'm planning on drafting you top 10, I need to see
what position do you not need to be healthy?
I think the easiest position to play through an injury is actually quarterback. I think quarterback is the easiest to play through an injury with, because you get to decide when the ball is out of your hands, right? And B, they get the most protection, like they don't have to like do anything. I mean, obviously it depends on like if your throwing hand is broken, like obviously that's tough. But I think quarterback actually is the easiest position to play through injury. That's my take.
I will say that like quarterbacks absolutely have, contrary to popular belief, quarterbacks have a lot of control over how much they get hit. A lot of control.
I don't think that's contrary to popular belief anymore. I think that most people have started to accept. In fact, I think people have started to accept too much that sacks are a quarterback stat. Because I see a lot of sacks that are not quarterbacks sacks. So but I think that, yeah, anyway, keep going. Okay. Keep going. But yes, you do. You do get to get control because you do get to throw it away. I just want to say some people are like really starting to be like, oh, sacks are a quarterback stat, which some of them are, but a lot of them aren't. I don't know. Some stats, sacks are
it's dicey, but like it's like, oh, how much do you get pressured? How much do you get sacked? How many of the, like, are you short?
Yeah.
Like
anyway,
stuff like that matters. You know, we're talking about a lot of really fresh cornerbacks. You know what else is really fresh?
Hello Fresh. Hello Fresh. Yeah. Hello Fresh.
It's Hello Fresh. Stay Hot's new fresh sponsor, Hello Fresh, and America's #1 meal kit. You know, with HelloFresh, you get fresh, pre-measured ingredients and mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your front door. HelloFresh lets you skip those trips to the grocery store and makes home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And that's why I said, you know, it's America's #1 meal kit for a reason. HelloFresh cuts out stressful meal planning and grocery store trips so you can just enjoy cooking and get to eating in about 30 minutes or less. Also, HelloFresh is 30% cheaper than shopping at your local grocery store. Plus, you get to skip those checkout lines. You can try their quick and easy meals like 15 to 20-minute dinners, breakfast on the go, and 10-minute lunches in the HelloFresh market. Perfect for you if you have a crazy class schedule, an internship, or a new job. You can enjoy restaurant-quality meals for less in the comfort of your own home. HelloFresh's gourmet recipes like balsamic fig sirloin are over 72% cheaper than the average restaurant meal. So why don't you go on over to HelloFresh.com/StayHot16. Use code StayHot16 for up to 16 free meals and free gifts. I'm trying to get some more Stay Hot myself. Again, go to HelloFresh.com/StayHot16. Use the code StayHot16. That is the number 16. Do not spell out 16. Again, HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
One thing, the combine is coming up, and one thing I'm interested is like, I would not be surprised to see the combine start to go the way of the dunk contest in a couple of years. The combine, I was thinking about this. The combine, and it almost happened with because they wanted the combine to be like a bubble. And the players were like, well, we just won't go if it's going to be that. And then the NFL right away was like, okay, then never mind. And I think like, this is just a quick point. I think the combine, like if you are a really good prospect, I mean, I guess there's interviews, and if you like just skip the combine, that could make you like fall in the draft because people will be like, oh, they don't like want to work or they don't want to like show up. So that's kind of why you have to go. Maybe not so much any of the on-field drills at all, but you just kind of have to be there because it's part of the process and they want someone who like does what's asked of them. But like running combine drills, like, does that really help Aiden Hutchinson right now? Or does that even really help Derek Stingley right now? Like, does that like, I wonder if like, at some point just running a pro day where you're on your own turf and usually the numbers are better, if just opting to do that isn't like optimal for a lot of prospects. And I think the NFL is aware of this, and that's why when the players threatened to just like not go, they caved so quickly, because I think the combine's in a little bit of a perilous position right now where it could kind of become more obsolete in the next couple of years.
There are a lot of players where if you go to the combine, the only thing you could possibly do is lower your stock. Unless you know for a fact that you're going to like break the 40 record, the only thing that you could possibly do is hurt yourself by going there. And it's like, I've started working on a video for talking about the combine, because I think there already is like a lot of, misconceptions about what actually matters at the combine. Like Theo, I know you talked about, oh, if someone runs a fast 40 time, they're immediately low on my board. And it's like, it's not that there's some truth to that, But a guy that is going to run the 40 at the combine, knowing that he has the potential to like run a 4.25, they're like the biggest reason they're doing that is because they know they can raise their draft stock by running fast as opposed to just like being a good prospect. A good prospect is like, I'm not going to run. Like, why would I potentially tank my like if Garrett Wilson? What if Garrett Wilson runs like a 4.5?
That'd be awesome. Every good wide receiver runs a 4.5.
Not I'm just like I'm not maybe not a 4.5.
Like a 4.
Okay, what if just like a 4.6? What if he runs a 4.6?
That would be.
What if he runs a 4.7?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying.
What if he's Jarvis Landry? Like
I'm just saying that like the thing about the dunk contest is the really good players don't want to do it because it doesn't really matter. And it's just like all you can do is kind of hurt yourself and your legacy. And I do wonder, like with the combine, and I'm just like we have other things to talk about. That was just kind of amusing that I had. It's like
I kind of disagree. Yeah. I think Aiden Hutchinson has like the difference between the Jaguars taking him at 1 and like him going at 4 or something is like. They're a 30% pay raise. It's a lot of money. And I would say that if he goes and does well at the combine, I would think that makes his odds better. We've seen how
if he does really well, but like, okay, let's say that Thibodeau also goes and Thibodeau does even better.
Well, then
let's say Thibodeau goes and he does good and Aiden Hutchinson sits out.
Yeah, I don't know.
That wouldn't be good.
Either way, I don't know. Either way, like, I don't know. I feel like there's not a whole lot to gain.
The pro day is what does it. Because the Aiden Hutchinson could just destroy his pro day. And that is what is like when it comes to the combine, it's like, okay, I could go to Indianapolis and do this, or I could just like, because last year there was no combine and everyone just did their pro days. And all the pro day numbers are always better. So it's like the thing about like it would hurt it. I don't think it hurts Aiden Hutchinson to like do all these drills, but I do think like if you're going to have a pro day, going to the combine where things just tend to be like a tick slower. That's the pro days are kind of what makes me think.
I think it comes down to then it's like, what do the scouts think? Because if the scouts look at
plus not every scout is at the
right.
pro.
All the numbers are better.
Yeah.
The numbers are better. But if I were to start talking to you about the 40 times receivers from last year where there were only pro days, you'd tell me that none of them really, those are fraudulent numbers because they are. And I think a lot of scouts, I don't know. I don't disagree. I do think it'll start to, you've seen it happen with bowl games. And that's a real game. But you could also, the Senior Bowl is getting more and more popular than ever. And I could kind of say the same thing about it, where it's like, if you go, you could hurt your stock.
True. All right. This is not,
I guess
that is fair. That is fair.
It does seem more superlative than like actually beneficial to the players.
I don't know. And
it's also
like medical stuff is at the combine. And I honestly think like a lot of the combine, like the biggest deal is the interviews and talking one-on-ones with the teams.
Yeah, it's the interviews. That's what those teams care about. The 40 time is whatever, unless you do really bad or really good.
Yeah. I honestly, 4.5 for a wide receiver, ideal 4.4, 4.5. That's the ideal spot to be in. If you run faster than a 4.35, the hit rate is non-existent. Trying too hard. If I was like on pace for like a 4.2, I'd slow up a little bit. I'd be like, okay. Okay. Yeah, well, anyway, we got to talk about some basketball because it's post All-Star break. We got James Harden's debut. We got Ben Simmons's not debut. He's not playing. But James Harden,
per usual,
made his debut with the Sixers. I believe they're playing as this is getting recorded right now against the Knicks.
Yes.
Are you watching?
My guy James Harden, man.
Well.
A little bit. I've been back and forth. I try to.
Well, they looked like a very dangerous team. They were gotten the bonus in like 4 minutes, right? Against the Timberwolves, which is not shocking for a Harden and Embiid-led team. Beat a very good Timberwolves team. I would consider the Timberwolves to be like playoff contenders, and the 76ers shot a bunch of threes, shot a bunch of free throws, and beat them by a decent amount. And that is
31.
Yeah, 30. Yeah. So looks dangerous. Couldn't have asked for a much better debut if you're, to go in and just like roll a playoff team like that, or a potential playoff team like that.
Yeah.
Couldn't ask for a better debut.
I mean, yeah, they're a really complete team. I've been saying for a while, the big thing that they were missing was that, go-to perimeter creator. They're kind of doing it by committee with Seth Curry and Maxey, who's good, but probably too young for a title run as the number one perimeter creator. But James Harden is that guy. Now he
always has been, man.
Taking his foot off the gas a little bit with Brooklyn this year, but I mean, he's looked really strong his first 2 games. And I think people forget how, and James Harden was an MVP candidate last season.
Yeah.
James Harden has pretty consistently been, and now you're putting him with Embiid, and the team's good at defense, and the spacing on the team is good. They've got a lot going for them. I like it. The one big problem, of course, is that they should be more fun to watch, but there's too many fouls. But I don't know if they care about that too much.
I saw a tweet today that was like, my goodness, just look how it was just highlighting just how much space adding James Harden created, where it was just like, all of a sudden you're like, Embiid's getting doubled and Harden's getting doubled, and you have like one guy wide open, one guy that's like pretty much open, but not quite wide open. And it's just like, that the Sixers didn't look like that before.
An Embiid Harden pick and roll is just so devastating, because it's like
there's too much those guys can do.
There's too much those guys can do. And especially last year when Harden was like, again, Harden was the guy in the Durant, Kyrie, like Harden lineups. Harden was the guy who became the facilitator, and he really he had like 10 assists a game. And I think he's like doing that this year. He's like averaging 10 assists a game while also being like James Harden as a scorer. So on a pick and roll, you've got this guy who has become a really good facilitator, passing to probably the best offensive big man in the league, who can, hit a three, hit a mid range, hit any shot on the court. And a guy who in Harden who can hit any shot on the court and is a really good facilitator. Yeah. And it's like you could fade you could you don't have to even roll.
He's playing defense right now.
Yeah, no, and Embiid can fade. You don't know, he can take a step back and hit a three. He can go for Embiid and Harden pick and roll is just not. There's no good option. There's just nothing you can do right. You're gonna guess wrong every time, and you just gotta hope they miss the shot, man. It's brutal. It's brutal.
And the odds that they miss the shot, not in your favor.
No, it's brutal.
Well, a big thing with them is I remember I was watching, this is a long time ago, I was watching a Wizards game and got towards the end of it, and they're just like, we're just doubling Embiid no matter what. And with the spacing, with Simmons out there, this is a while ago, it's just, that was your best option, is to try to leave someone open, or they'd put Drummond out there a little bit and, maybe, and now it's just like, when Harden's the other guy and Maxey's been playing so good, and all of a sudden he's a third option, and he's only getting better. He's getting better too, consistently.
He's good. Yeah.
I mean, and it's just, they may need another year maybe to reconfigure a few things, but like I said, they still have ammo for another trade. They have other picks, and I would be not stunned if Morey was thinking about it this offseason. So I really like where they're at right now. Big concern for them, staying healthy.
Yeah.
Embiid is, notorious. Harden was an Iron Man for a long time, but has been a little bit banged up last couple seasons. But who am I saying that for? Every single team. So maybe I'm just talking, but if they can stay healthy, they're a threat to beat absolutely anybody.
Is there anything that you think they need to, you mentioned they still have a lot of trade ammo. Is there anything you think they could do in the immediate?
Well, no, because the trade deadline's passed.
Not in terms of upcoming off season, what would they have to do? Because I assume you're not thinking they're winning the finals this year.
Yeah, well, they traded away Seth Curry, so you could probably use, another guard for some depth that can shoot. I think like when Harden goes on the bench, like, I don't know. I think like you could definitely add another guard to that rotation to like, I don't know, but
I'm not even.
Who's our backup center? Who is
Willie Cauley-Stein? No.
Yeah.
They got him, and they have Millsap's more of a 4, but I think they might play him at the 5 a little bit.
Millsap is also not that good anymore.
Well, the thing is that they have options. And I think Maxey. My big thing was like maybe they'll like trade Maxey for like a bona fide star that wants out of there, but he's almost gotten to the point where it's like he's not a nice young player. He's just really good. He's just a really good player right now. And why trade him? Like, you could, but I don't know what would have to open up unless, like Donovan Mitchell wanted out and you could send Maxey and Harris and a bunch of picks. But they have options. I think they're in a very good spot if they can stay healthy.
I think so too. We'll worry about the offseason on the offseason. I do think, like, we're talking about NBA MVP, and this is like one of the closer years for a lot of things in the NBA, and one of the more like
yes. This is going to be a good postseason too.
It's going to be really good. But I wonder, like, does Harden to Joel Embiid hurt Embiid's MVP odds because, like, you all of a sudden you're not as valuable to your team because there's another bona fide star there? Or are they going to end like the 1 seed, which maybe even matters more? And if you're the best player on like a really high seed, which Embiid probably would be in this hypothetical scenario, do you think adding Harden helps or hurts his MVP case?
I would say it depends on how it happens. If Embiid is dropping 30 a night, and that team ends up as the 1 seed, I am not sure that it matters because he was also playing like an MVP before Harden got there. Yeah. But if you have a lot of, like, if Harden keeps getting triple doubles every single game, like Harden had a 30-point triple double in the opener. What's he sitting at right now? Okay, he has 17, 13, and 7.
Yeah, ridiculous.
So if he keeps getting triple doubles every game, that could possibly hurt Embiid. I think that the Embiid is one of the most valuable players in the league. Narrative is pretty cemented, but it's such a close race that it might come down to something ticky-tacky like that. The other thing, though, is that last year, Jokic won over Curry. Firstly, because Jokic was the most valuable player in the league, but second, because of seeding. And this year, you might have it so where Jokic is now the lower seed, and I don't think, even if he is the most valuable player in the league, I don't think they can flip back on that reasoning and be like, oh, well, last year Curry was too low of a seed. Seeding matters a ton. This season, you have the 76ers sitting at the 1 seed and the Nuggets sitting at the 6, and be like, well, we're going to give it to Jokic anyway.
Yeah, no.
So,
yeah.
I think that overall, I don't know. Because Giannis, I think it definitely opens the door for Giannis more than anything. Because, like, the Nuggets, like, if the Bucks end as a higher seed than the 76ers, and the numbers kind of hold where both Giannis and Embiid end with like ridiculous numbers, if the Bucks end as a higher seed, people will be like, okay, Giannis did it better, had a better record with less help, is probably what the narrative could end up being at the end. That's Giannis is the one who I think probably stands. I don't know.
A narrative that I would be worried about, or maybe not worried about, but I would look for with Embiid is like the fact that Harden was on a pretty good team in the Nets, right? They, there were things that were, discombobulated, but the team itself, as far as talent, was good. And maybe Embiid himself wasn't able to get that to happen, but the fact that Harden wanted to join you as opposed to he probably had his pick at where he could have gone, and he wanted to go to Philadelphia. I think that might play a role into, okay, he wanted to play with this guy. This guy's clearly.
That's a good point.
Maybe not the MVP.
I haven't thought about it like that. No, that's
I think
true.
It would help out a lot.
Harden goes and picks to play with Embiid because Embiid's so good. I'll look at that like Embiid just got James Harden
That's like a LeBron move.
Sort of. I would say this is James Harden going to the Bucks realistic even if he wanted to play with Giannis? No. No. The fact that they had Simmons as an asset is the biggest reason this trade happened, not because
fair enough. It is, but
he has wanted to go to
We're pushing narratives here, man. The facts don't matter.
You're right.
If you want to know the real advantage that Joel Embiid has compared to the other two guys, he has not won an MVP before, and giving it to him would be more interesting. Yes. So he probably will win it. And I think Embiid has played like an MVP before. And maybe this is not the way to look at it, but I do think this is what maybe the voters will start to think. And it's always hard to give it to him because he always misses just too many games. And if you get a season, fingers crossed, if he stays healthy for the rest of the year, and it's a close one, and the other two options are guys who have gotten one before, and you have your chance to give Embiid an MVP that I think he deserves. And it's not like it would be reaching. They're all very close.
Yeah,
I don't think I would be upset at them just being like, yeah, this one's Embiid's.
I wouldn't be mad either because you know what? I bet on Embiid to win MVP, Giannis to win MVP, and Jokic to win MVP. So I can't lose. I can't lose.
Can't lose.
Unlimited money hack. But yes.
Unlimited money hack.
My unlimited money hack.
You know what else is an unlimited money hack?
What?
Running fantasy with Underdog Fantasy. Yes, the 2021 NFL season is officially over, but there is no off season over at Underdog Fantasy. And right now you can draft a 2022 best ball fantasy football team in their big board tournament with $250,000 in cash prizes and $50,000 to first place. Which incoming rookies will you draft to make a splash in your 2022 fantasy team? Go ahead and draft your dream fantasy roster in the big board now, and that's it. No waivers, no trades, no setting your lineup. Underdog will give you the optimal score each week. And get this, right now when you sign up with the code STAYHOT, Underdog is going to match your initial deposit with up to $100 in bonus cash. It's literally an infinite money glitch. So what are you waiting for? Go check out UnderdogFantasy.com or their mobile app, sign up with the code Stay Hot, and may the best drafter win.
Is promising the listeners infinite money if they sign up for this service
is that
false advertising? Or
listen, if you do it
can't
right,
possibly lose. There's no chance of that.
Listen. I'm not saying you can't lose. I'm just saying if you do it right, you can't not win.
If you win your bets, you'll make money.
If you just win your bets, it's like, don't be bad. Another team that, and I don't know how much of an MVP case he has, but another team we need to talk about is the Miami Heat. And
the greatest basketball team ever assembled, the Theo Ash East.
Over the Suns?
Well, right now, because Chris Paul is hurt, they are the greatest basketball team ever assembled.
For the moment, they're the greatest team of all time until
Chris Paul gets back.
I mean, I don't think no one on that team really has an MVP
Bam
case.
Does.
Really, it's just like
don't care. I love Bam Adebayo so much, man. I love Bam.
Look for Tyler Hero to get a stray MVP 5th place vote.
Listen, man, we did anything is possible. We did like the crowdsourced quarterback rankings, and there were like we do need to release those, but I had it set up so you don't have to you can vote for the same player for every ranking. And I didn't think about that.
Maybe we should redo it.
So a lot of people, maybe we should redo it. But 50, there were like 50 people.
Quarterbacks? I think they're all Mac Jones.
No, literally, Mac Jones got like 50 first place votes.
Yes, I saw. Well, can we go through them now? Would you guys mind doing that?
I think we should do that on a future. I think we should talk about the Heat because we're almost out of time. And then in the next episode, maybe. But the Heat, Bam Adebayo. Of all the there's a question that's like, oh, who are the centers that you would take? It's like Cat, Bam, and like Ayton, I think are like the three that I've seen like posed. I think Bam is the best center there. I love Bam Adebayo. I think like the thing that he does on like him on defense is so impact. Like his body type and his effort and his IQ is like one of the most valuable like defensive pieces in the league. Like I would take him on defense over just about anybody. And he's good on the offensive end as well. And it's like, again, I don't know what to say about the Heat that I haven't said already. It's like they put together just a bunch of smart guys. And when that happens and it's a close game in the fourth quarter, you are going to win the game because you just have a bunch of like basketball experts on your team that can like just know how to win games. They just know how to win games. I don't know how else to describe it. You just put together Spoelstra, like the biggest assholes in the league, and like Kyle Lowry, and like assholes, I mean that in a very endearing way, but like Butler and Lowry, and then like Bam on the defense, and surround like it's just it's just a smart team that they just know how to win basketball games. Like, and none of them are washed.
And that's a great point. I think the big thing that people have a problem with Miami right now is like, well, where's their closer? And it's kind of a fair thing. It's like the best player on the Heat is a top 10 player.
I don't know. One? I don't think so.
I would say, I think a lot of people would say Jimmy Butler isn't there. So, you see a lot of other teams. So the Nets have Kevin Durant and,
Embiid,
whoever else, what I'm saying. But these guys, I understand that maybe it's more closeout games by committee, but if you have two extremely seasoned vets and Jimmy Butler who can close out games and Kyle Lowry, and on top of that, you do have a guy who can go get a bucket and Tyler Hero. Now it's a lot of pressure for him, and he's been a little bit up and down the last few years, but we saw in that 2020 playoff run he was hitting big shots. So I think that with another couple of years under his belt and with that playoff experience under his belt, I honestly think that them closing games might turn around and be a strength for Miami just because of the makeup of their team, even though they don't have a KD. Rather than a weakness, like a fair amount of fans think.
Yeah, no, they definitely don't have they don't have a guy who can rise up and you really trust to hit like a turnaround J deep two, then it goes in anyway. Like Kevin Durant versus the Bucks. I think of that one when his foot was on the line and it was a 2 instead of a 3. But like a shot like that, they don't have like, there's not that many guys who can hit that shot. Or like LeBron in the All-Star game, like just hit an impossible shot to like win the game. They don't have a guy who can do that kind of thing. But you don't like, there are other ways to get a bucket other than that, right? Like, I don't know, like they can manufacture in open shots. So I don't know. I think that they're fine. They're the number one team in the East right now. I think by seeding it changes every day. So maybe by the time you hear this, it'll change again. But again, the Heat are a team I've been singing the praises of, and I've loved the makeup of their team since the beginning. They've done nothing but win so far. And
you have been riding the Heat.
I have been riding. I've been a day one Heat fan, and the way they built their team. So yeah, Heat rock, and I'm a big fan of theirs. So I talk about it like all the time about how much I love how they built their team, but it hasn't changed. Nothing's changed.
Fair.
They're baller.
You're taking your victory lap.
They're baller.
You're more than allowed to do that. Not as baller as James Harden, though, of course. But I think that wraps things up. We want to talk about the crowdsource stuff on the next episode. I am going to post the poll for the running backs. I'll do running backs and receivers this week. And I'm going to fix it so that you can only vote for one person one time.
I didn't think the quarterback list turned out too, like it did even out. We got a lot of responses.
It ended up being okay because most people took it seriously.
But there are a couple weird results. It's like, who voted for Tua as the best wide receiver in the league, guys? Come on. Show yourself. Oh, Dolphins fans. Oh, one more thing before
I got to do this for basketball players.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I'm gonna do that.
We should do that.
Dolphins fans are mad at me. 1 sec. Let me go on one last rant. Okay. The Dolphins could suck next year. Okay. The Dolphins could really suck. I swear to God. They're 1-7, right? 1-7 bad team. Everyone knows it. They then play like the murderer's row of the easiest quarterbacks in football, and they end up having a respectable season. Then they fire their head coach, who's widely regarded as like very good, and I think he was very good. And they hire a guy who's like very run heavy under like on a team that like cannot really run the football. So maybe he just like makes that a big strength, or maybe like it just doesn't work. It's one of those two things. And all the Dolphins fans, when I said this, were like, I'm not listening to you because of your Bengals take. Look, one of my history on Dolphins takes was calling Tua a bust before he ever played a game. That's aged well. And then they like went through their whole season and they missed the playoffs despite having a decent record. I then called them overrated until the draft, when they drafted Jalen Phillips, my edge one, Javon Holland, who was my favorite safety, and Jalen Waddle, who is the second best wide receiver. After they had that draft, I was like, okay, I predict them to win. They'll go 9-8. They will go 9-8. They're no longer overrated because they drafted all my favorite players. They'll go 9-8. What happened? All their rookie draft picks turned out, and they went 9-8. So I've had a beat on the Dolphins this whole time, and still all the Dolphins fans don't believe me. That's my rant. That's how I'm going to close out the show. I've been good at predicting the Dolphins.
It's a great closeout.
All right, that's all. Okay.
Great closeout, Theo. Great outro. Great outro. All right. As always, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Tons of content coming your way on all platforms. We will be back Friday. More NBA content, more the NFL Combine will probably be going on at the time that we are recording.
So we'll talk about
episode.
that a little bit too.
We'll talk about that, what has happened thus far. Don't miss out on all the great content. Make sure you all call in for the Stay Hot shout-outs. We want to get more of those so we can start, for the NBA. We know we have some NBA fans here. So, whatever games you're listening to, make sure you call in for the Stay Hot shout-outs. And as always, from Corn Boy, Bird Boy, and Lemon Boy, we will catch you all on the flippity flop.